Coming up on Network Africa, South Sudan government and rebel groups signed ceasefire deal. South Africa's President Jacob Zuma moves against order to set up judicial inquiry. And Liberia's Supreme Court rejects bid to hold the December 26 presidential runoff election. Hello and welcome to the program. I am Bisia Debayo. Let's begin from South Sudan, where the government and rebel groups have signed a ceasefire agreement in the latest attempt to end a 4-year civil war that has ravaged the country. The agreement was reached after talks convened by the regional bloc of Intergovernmental Authority on Development in the Ethiopian capital, Addis Ababa. The ceasefire aims to revive a 2015 peace deal that collapsed last year after heavy fighting broke out in the country's capital, Juba. The signing now gives humanitarian agencies access to civilians who are caught in the violence.
We have signed the cessation of hostilities, which marks the beginning of the end of hostilities in the Republic of South Sudan. Today we have signed the cessation of hostilities, and with it we will create the necessary conducive atmosphere so that these parties who were at war would now sit and discuss some of the provisions of the agreement which were unimplementable so that we can implement them. The cessation of hostilities will be with effective 72 hours from now. So this is the situation in which we are, and as of now we will send messages to all the commands in the field to abide by this cessation of hostilities. So from now onwards, there will be no more fighting, but there will be more talking so that we resolve the political issues.
Now let's talk more about this with a lecturer at the Political Department at the University of Lagos, Dr. Fenidat Ocho. Many thanks for your time, Dr. Ocho. Now, do you agree that the signing of the ceasefire agreement will end hostilities and even resolve political issues in South Sudan?
Well, it is not always the case. Resolution of... Hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, the resolution of the signing of peace agreement may necessarily lead to the end of hostility. And like this, of this conflict, it's always the case. After they have agreed to sign a peace deal, another group will spring up and begin to cause their own problem. So it is not just about signing the peace agreement, it is an enforcement of peace agreement. So they need to have a very, very strong, powerful institution. The African Union should come in at this moment to ensure that those groups that are actually causing this problem in South Sudan, learn from other countries that have had such problems, because gradually Sudan will go to full-blown war. Just as many years of independence, and Sudan is going through all this kind of, and that is a lesson for most of these agitations that we see in most parts of Africa about separatist movement, about separation, So this agreement will not necessarily bring lasting peace, because there is every likelihood that another group will spring up and begin to make their own agitation. The sanctions, maybe the United States, the United Nations, and so on, trying to impose a kind of sanction. Sanction, is a political instrument. It is not a legal instrument. So most times, those sanctions don't have any kind of effect, as such. So but it is also a way of letting those who are involved in this kind of conflict to know that the international community is actually not very pleased with what is going on. You can imagine South Sudan, that just got independent just a few years ago, is immersed in a very serious crisis. So one will now begin to ask one question. Of what use is the independence of South Sudan? If they were under the former Sudan, they were having problems. Now they have their independence and they're having more critical problems. So it goes beyond just signing peace agreement, So they have to, the African Union to come in to ensure that those who are involved in this conflict are really, called to order and see a way to deal with them severely, so that Africa cannot continue to have all this kind of ethnic conflict and so on and so forth.
But do you see this reviving the 2015 peace deal that collapsed last year after heavy fighting broke out in the capital, Juba?
The last year's peace deal, yes, we can say that to some extent it has helped, but I am saying that it is not just about having the peace deal. It is about enforcement. It is about how to ensure that the complete enforcement of this peace deal, to ensure that no group will rise up again. That is the point. We can say that here to some extent, what happened, the one they had last year, was able to address some of the issues, and the present one, that is not just enough. It is not enough. There has to be a very strong instrument that they will use to enforce this agreement.
Now, the Trump administration imposed sanctions in September on 2 senior South Sudanese officials and, of course, the former army chief for their role in the civil war and attacks against civilians. The U.S. also in November threatened to impose more sanctions if the Sudanese government does not end the violence. But do you think that all these have helped to break the deadlock and foster the peace deal?
Yeah, it to some extent it has. But the fact remains that, the moment South Sudan started this conflict after their independence, it's very clear that they are not likely to really live in peace. And because of issue of power, one ethnic group trying to see that it is all ethnic group that is on top. So it is issue has to be really addressed critically. When they wandered the former Sudan, they were talking about identity, of the black. Now they are no longer talking about identity. They are not talking about a particular ethnic group dominating. So that is the issue.
Now, do you see this peace deal standing the test of time?
It might not. It might not stand the test of time. It might not. It is just for a very short. And when they discover that they are not a particular group is not involved in the power sharing formula, they are not involved in government, they will rise up again. So these are issues, and you know that one of the things that the African Union should actually be concerned about is how to curtail the number of arms that goes into African conflict. It is these arms, because without arms, they can't be fighting. So the proliferation of small arms and light weapons is what actually fuels some of these conflicts. So after signing the peace deal, there may be a very short period of ceasefire. And when they are not involved in the government, another group will, take up arms and begin to agitate again. So that is my own take on that issue. I might not see it, lasting for too long, but we do hope that it will last. We do hope it will last.
Yes, let's hope for the best. Well, thank you very much, lecturer at the Political Science Department, University of Lagos, Dr. Ferdinand Ocho.